ancient voice, whispering from the void, and it chills my lightless heart.
G'day guys, Duckville here again. We're in Game 2 of moouNGLaDe versus mouzMorroW in the IEM semi-finals. Of course, this has just taken place, so these are very, very fresh reps. You will be able to see them yourself if you take a look in the description there. I've got a link to the IEM replay page where you can find all sorts of replays. There's games from all sorts of guys there. We've had Squirtle, we had, there's of course Hydra, there's you know, all sorts of players. I can't actually remember them off the top of my head because it's been a ridiculously busy day for me. But either way, we are going to have a Zerg versus Zerg on Shakuras, of course. This map is actually being removed, unfortunately, when the next patch hits in 1.3. Just want to be removed because Blizzard actually did not like the way this particular map usually plays out, being a very heavy macro map, as you can see here. In fact, right at the start here, mouzMorroW is... No, he's not. I thought he was going to go for quite an early hatch there. Actually, it's way too early. My bad. But anyway, Blizzard wants to remove this one because it actually has just a very plain macro feel to it. There's no real subtleties to the map, apparently. And of course, in their eyes, you only really have 2 attack points to go through. You've got this middle where this drone is now sightseeing through. And of course, there's the rocks up here, which you can come through the back, which these overlords are going to have a quick look at. But pretty much they're going to get rid of this one for those particular reasons. And of course, a lot of the Zergs will be happy because this map tends to favour Terran. When you actually push as a Terran through the back with siege tanks, marines and that sort of thing, you can actually come up here and just start rolling over a Zerg expansion once you get some siege tanks set up. But we will see how that goes because there are, of course, a couple of new maps which they have introduced. Anyway, enough of the map ranting because I did actually love this map, but moouNGLaDe's going to grab this early hatchery here. I believe that was a 15 hatch, and it looks as if mouzMorroW has gone for pretty much the exact same thing himself. The hatcheries are almost the exact same timings there. moouNGLaDe's just a little bit ahead, a few seconds ahead there on his placement, so we'll see if that has any outcome. I don't think it will have any effect on the actual gameplay, but we'll see as we roll along here. moouNGLaDe getting his extractor and his spawning pool up and running. mouzMorroW, meanwhile, just having a little shot here at the drones. The buddies here come along and try and take a shot at this this actual really annoying drone here. This one's actually getting really low. If moouNGLaDe loses this, he is going to be a little bit annoyed, I would assume, given that he does not really want to lose any drones right at the start because you just do not want to lose them because of the cost, of course, and then, of course, the fact that that's one lava down. So we'll see if mouzMorroW keeps an eye on these drones here. He does find it, but he's not really microing too hard on that one, so he's probably going to leave it alone. That drone's going to survive. Hatchery is now done for moouNGLaDe, so we will probably see this transition into pretty standard for the moment. Getting the hatch first, I believe, is actually becoming quite standard in Zerg versus Zerg at the moment because a lot of people are going for roaches, and once you have the roaches up, you can adequately defend against things such as banelings and speedlings, of course. So when you are trying to defend against the speedlings, normally you'd want to put your roaches on the ramp here. Just make sure that the speedlings can't get by into your main, because if you have to defend against them in the main and the natural, you're going to be in a whole heap of trouble. So we'll see here that moouNGLaDe once again going straight for this roach warren. Of course, this is a little bit different to game 1 where he didn't get the hatch first, but he's going to see if he can pump out a few at the moment. Once again, we will have Zerglings coming through the middle of the map here from mouzMorroW. He's going to scout out with them, and as we can see, a Zergling giving a high 5 there, or a high claw, or whatever the hell the Zerglings have, I'm not really sure. But he's going to come in here, going to scout that this natural's up, so he knows that he's essentially on the same turf as mouzMorroW, and as you can see here, he's just going to come through, see if he can perhaps cause any damage. I'm not sure. That might take up a little bit too much micro, given that he's wanting to focus on his economy at the moment. But roach warren going down for mouzMorroW. He can see that that one is now up and running here, the queen taking care of that Zergling. Meanwhile, just over here at moouNGLaDe's base, that Zergling did see, of course, the hatchery there, did get inside and see that moouNGLaDe also has his own roach warren. So we have pretty much the exact same types of builds here. We got a whole heap of overlords about to pop out for both of these players. We've got 2 coming out from moouNGLaDe and 3 on the way from mouzMorroW. So both of these guys are going to head straight into the roach powering, I would assume, and would not be surprised if we see the lair tech coming up soon, because that would be the next step. There it is, moouNGLaDe popping up that lair. I have not seen these. That was just pure guessing game and a little bit of knowledge about how you play Zerg. So I haven't actually seen these guys. So We do have 2 Evo chambers coming up from moonGLaDe. It looks as if he's going to power down those the upgrades for his roaches. Of course, generally, if you're going to go for roaches, you really want to get the +1 to their attack, and it looks as if Morrow's going to do the exact same thing himself. I mentioned in game 1 that these guys at the start were very much, it was a bit Korean-esque in the fact that they were essentially doing the exact same things, but it looks as if this is happening again in game 2. So we do have that +1 to the missile attacks on the way from moonGLaDe. He's going to have to contend with a little bit of trouble at the front of his base. As we can see, these guys are quite equal on their actual army count as well here, but Morrow's going to come in here, see what he can do. He's going to poke in. Not a good idea, though. He may lose one of these roaches if moonGLaDe's on top of his micro, but it looks as if he's not going to want to risk that at all. One thing about the Zerg versus Zerg matchup, which we can see here, is the actual scouting. As you can see, Overlords all over the place, providing vision everywhere. As you can see, this is pretty much a commonplace for Zerg versus Zerg at the start until some Hydras or perhaps Mutas are out, depending on how the actual builds go for the players. And it just actually provides a little bit of an interesting factor that you don't actually get in any of the other matchups, because of course in all the other mirrors, in the 2 other mirrors, and generally all of the other matchups, you do not actually have the Overlord scouting every single thing that happens. And it's just an interesting dynamic of this particular matchup that does really actually provide some interesting sort of differentiation, given that the players can actually see everything that's going on. Speaking of what's going on here, moonGLaDe attempting to scout out into this 3rd base. He did not see that, I believe, but we'll have a look in a second here. It looks as if he's going to go for his own 3rd base, knowing that Morrow probably has this one up. This is the point where you would assume that the other player actually has that one up and running, and of course indeed he does. Now, we do see that both these players, again, check this out on the production tab. We've got +1 to missiles and carapace on the way from both the players, and the roach speed upgrade, which is now done for moonGLaDe and will be done shortly for Morrow. And this is, of course, as we mentioned before, these guys just powering along with these very mechanical styles where they're just doing the exact same things. And we'll see where they actually differentiate. I'm not really sure if there will be any, but let's see what happens. We got around about the same harvesters as well. We got 47 for moonGLaDe and 50 for Morrow. And now that Morrow has actually scouted inside, he's seen the roach count of moonGLaDe. He's going to get this Overseer out, of course, and he will be able to use that intelligence to base his next moves. We do have a little bit of a difference here. We've got a Hydra Den here from Morrow, so he may be getting out some Hydras, which will definitely help with the DPS that the army does. And as we can see, moonGLaDe putting down a Contaminate on top of this hatchery. This is one thing which moonGLaDe, I'm surprised he didn't do it in the last game, or suppose he didn't really get that far, but this is one thing which moonGLaDe has done in prior tournaments to great effect, is actually denying hatcheries from producing any extra larvae, which he, in one particular game, I think it was in a tournament on the C server, actually just totally denied a player from actually using his hatchery for a long time. Make sure you look that one up on YouTube. It was quite interesting, but as we can see here, looks as if moonGLaDe's going to move out here. We're going to have a roach battle in the middle. Covering off the 3rd there, attempting to come through was Morrow, but he's not going to get inside in time. Many drones have been transferred across to this expansion, but he is definitely going to lose this one. The hatchery goes down, the queen is down, of course. There's one Hydra, unfortunately, getting stuck in the middle there, and interestingly, moonGLaDe actually gets his roaches out, so I'm a bit surprised that they did get out, and it looks as if there may be quite an overwhelming number of roaches here, and in fact we do have supporting roaches coming across. As you can see on the HP bars, we've got the Hydras up at the back dealing a nice amount of damage, as you can see here, and it looks as if moonGLaDe is definitely going to win this battle for the moment. We'll see if he can actually win this game. He's pushing in there, and Morrow calls the GG, so quite a little bit of an interesting play there from Morrow. I'm quite surprised that he let moonGLaDe get out here. I think that may have been just a little bit of a multitasking mistake there to let those roaches get out. Normally, if you're gonna sacrifice this sort of expansion, try and actually deny the army from getting out. Get a good concave on the ramp and just try and shoot down any units that you can. And I think that's where Morrow may have lost that little skirmish there, was the fact that he didn't actually block any of moonGLaDe's roaches getting out. They got out unscathed, and just the power of the numbers from moonGLaDe just overwhelmed Morrow in this particular case. So Game number 2 going to moonglade here. We are 1-1 at the moment, and we will go into game 3. We will see you in that one. Cheers.